practical roadmap for modernizing your enterprise without disruption.
Awesome. So we have about 10 minutes left, and we want to make sure we get to some questions and things like that. So panelists, try to keep your questions a little bit more, a little bit shorter if you can. So Bird, why do you think that people have an issue with change? So we talk to clients all the time, and we end up in a place where they're like, well, I'm not sure if I'm ready for AI yet, or I'm not sure if we're ready to make this change yet, or I just have problems getting into just the change piece of it alone, not even the technology, I don't think, but just the change piece of it as it is. So why do you think that companies have problems, or what are some of the things that you hear them say about why they can't change right now?
Sure. I think the biggest one probably is they don't even know what's possible, and that's what we hope webinars like this are, helping alleviate. But they don't even know what's possible. I think they think it's too much work, it's too much time, it's too much money. I think sometimes in this case, great is the enemy of good. That they think if they can't solve all of the problem, they don't even want to take a bite of it. And emotionally, change is hard.
Awesome. All right, so Tavon, I'm going to have you jump in there as well. And Bird, I'm going to recognize, though, that some of the things you were talking about are super important, right? And we're going to see, like, do we have any ways to be able to handle some of these things? So Tavon, let's go ahead and talk maybe about, do they have problems accepting like new technology?
Sure. So I think from my perspective, one of the biggest things that I see is there's a need for strategy, right? When we're talking about changing how we operate as a business, we need to make sure that we have a plan in place for that. You mentioned the word governance earlier, and how in any of our other webinars, it's something that we mention all the time, is having the rules and the plan and the direction we're going as an organization. We call that governance. I think that also really applies to AI and to adopting automation and leaning into some of these things we talked about today. Is what'll help you get away from all those problems or things that you're worried about as a business is just taking a step back before we start turning on AI, sitting down to come up with the plan, the rules, what's acceptable, and how do we want it to work for us.
Awesome. Katie, weigh in on like the process for change and things that people should be aware of.
With any big change, it can be overwhelming, but I think with this topic specifically, where you can get started is a few different ways. I think one of the first ways or easiest paths to it is there has to be at least one, maybe two people in your organization that are what we would call early adopters. They're really excited about change. They might be very tech savvy. Really look to those people to kind of be your beta test for some of these AI processes. Maybe they can go off and do some research for their team or department to really see, how can I be using AI to change my daily process? And once you kind of have one person, it really becomes a domino effect. Then the other ways that I would recommend is also look at your teams to see where are the biggest hangups, where are the biggest bottlenecks? Is it in operations? Is it in your sales team? Is it in your marketing team? And really see, could you highlight one team to kind of take on that initiative as well as a process of streamlining your efforts and initiatives. And then the third way is if you're like, hey, we have bottlenecks across the board on all of our departments. We at Spindustry do several different types of audits that really can help you shape what needs to be your most critical, highest priority items, whether it's on AI specifically, data governance, or even streamlining that tech stack as we talked about earlier.
Those are awesome answers from all three of you. Oh man, I could sit here and talk about this topic for a really long time, for at least an hour. So I actually did that with our friends from WordsFresh. We did a webinar strictly on change, and there are amazing topics in there. And one of the things that it helped us realize when we became a partner and started talking to kind of WordsFresh, as we started talking to them, we kind of realized that even as we were approaching change, we do that through governance. And as we were approaching change, a lot of times we would talk about it from the aspect of, we have to protect the company first, then we'll make it comfortable for everybody else. Because if the company's not here in the future because we didn't have all these things organized, that's a problem for everybody, right? So protect the company first, and then let's make it easy for the user. But we didn't really hone in on that make it easy for the user piece. And then what WordsFresh kind of showed us, or what you'll see inside this webinar, I should say, is an approach that's really kind of revolutionary. It tells you, let's look at the end user and see the stages of grief, that's what I like to call it, the stages of grief they go through when they're dealing with change. This webinar points all that out for you, and it's a great listen. It takes about, like I said, an hour. Also, if you are interested in the previous webinar that we did, Unlocking Business Value with SharePoint and Microsoft 365, we also talk about the strategy piece of that inside of there, and how, you know, what is the way that we're thinking today inside of our industry. So